Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today's video is still the Kanto Cup. It's still going to be in the Kanto Cup, I should say. But with a different team. It's admittedly very meta. We have Pidgeot in the lead with its typical moveset. We got Alolan Marowak still though, keeping that on the team. Again, Fire Spin, Shadow Bone, and Bone Club for the moveset. And then Shadow Machamp in the back with Rock Slide over Payback. So, thanks for joining in. This is Baj. Let's get right into these battles. All right, hopping into the first battle, we got the mirror, Pidgeot versus Pidgeot. It looks like we got some latency lag issues possibly. But yeah, so I'm just going to go straight for Feather Dance, hoping I can win CMP tie if it is a tie, which I do. That way I should be able to survive the Brave Bird. I'm not sure if it's totally IV dependent. I think it might be because it is close. They did catch it onto their Lickitung though, which is okay. Not the most preferable, but I know I can farm down with Machamp, especially now that they went for Power, because I'm like, pretty sure I can farm down, and I do. So I'm like, all right, come, bring in your Pidgeot. I dare you. I dare you. You're going to find out that the opponent read me like a glove. I almost did Rock Slide, but I managed to save myself and went for Cross Chop. I won't be able to, basically have a Machamp with energy, so I'm just using both my Cross Chops on it. And then, what do I swap into? Sadly, no third Cross Chop. Sad face. Who do I swap into? Oh yeah, Alolan Marowak. And this was a mistake. I should have respected the Earth Power regardless, because of that Feather Dance debuff, because I know the Pidgeot's loaded, and the game's already over. I just didn't top left eventually. I think I top left after once we get down into the red here. Yeah, I should have just top left a while back, but this is going to be a good game to my opponent. Very well played. So, yeah, arguably I could have, come in with the Pidgeot to farm up, but it was going to be an uphill battle either way, because since I am not running Fire Blast on my Marowak, facing a Pidgeot is just a tough order in there. I finally top left. So, thankfully I do use Fire Spin, which helps. But, yeah, no, so good game. Very well played to my opponent. I put myself in that position to just be permanently debuffed, which was not smart. Hopping into the next battle, if the game wants to. Alrighty then, let's try this again. Are we hopping into the next battle game? Yes, we are. Pidgeot versus Nidoqueen. So neutral, though I believe it's in favor of Nidoqueen because of, again, the Poison Fang debuffs, which is natural to assume. I don't shield this first one, even though it will do the most damage. My goal is to get a Feather Dance off. Or do I go for the Brave Bird? I think I went for the Brave Bird in this case. Yep, okay, got a shield back. I was planning on swapping to save my Pidgeot, but it was a CMP tie, which, makes sense. It takes 5 Gus to do it, and with their poison jabs. So I I bring in my little Marowak. Then they bring in a Wigglytuff. So this is favorable in Marowak's from the Alolan Marowak, but not by much. Reason being is Wigglytuff has that part normal typing, so Shadow Bone, while there is a chance for the debuff, honestly, it is just your call at the end of the day, because I think Shadow Bone only does just a hair less than Bone Club, but it's more or less the same. I do shield this up, and Ice Beam would almost bring me to 1 HP at least, if not knock me out. So, and I'm going to farm down and have lots of energy. And then whatever comes in, I'm just going to go for the Shadow Bone. Even with the normal type, I can get that debuff. That's when it's worth going for the Shadow Bone. They bring in a Venusaur. Okay, there's a chance here, but I'm going to have to, use my team wisely. They decide to use it to soak up damage, which I can see the play here. Then I use the other Shadow Bone. I do bring in my Machamp. I should have been keeping track of the Nidoqueen, because I shield the first Poison Fang. Should not have done that. So now I'm like, oh, good lord. Please tell me I survived the second Poison Fang, which is going to do even more damage. And I'm like, please, please. And then thankfully I get it. So then I have enough for a Rock Slide. So this is going to be a good game. Very well played to my opponent. I definitely made that closer than it should have been, especially with that shield. But again, very well played. Alrighty, on to match number 3. Pidgeot versus Muk. Okay, so again with Pidgeot, you have to decide for yourself if you prefer to go for Brave Bird or Feather Dance right away. It is a very much a coin flip Pokemon because you get to the moves at the same time for the first go around, which it's kind of annoying, but at the same time I think it was needed because I forget how much energy Feather Dance was originally, but it was just one less gust you needed to get to the Feather Dance versus a Brave Bird. So again, mind games are very prevalent with a Pidgeot. I do let this go through. I did shield an Acid Spray earlier, which was a sad face moment. But thankfully, I do have a Brave Bird loaded, so I'm just going to go straight for it because there's no point in trying to bait. I'll either get the shield or cause a lot of damage. And that's one poison jab, so I got to keep that in mind. I do bring in my Alolan Marowak. I am going to shield if they build up to the Earth Power. So I believe that was 8, maybe 9. I think that was 8 jabs. So I do shield this up. It is the Earth Power, which is a great shield. Holy moly. Arguably, I think Shadow Bone actually does a little more damage, but I'm thinking like, oh, I'll be fine with Bone Clubs. They go unshielded. That is, yeah. It's kind of risky going for a Bone Club sometimes, which as you can see, this game I think was a bit closer than it should have been had I gone for Shadow Bone. But I do decide to swap in my Machamp, and they swap in with their own Shadow Machamp. Thankfully, I am 1 counter ahead of them. They might have gotten to the 5th one with that sneak in, but I was able to get my cross drop off first and knock them out before they could launch their own charge move. Now, Nidoqueen has no choice but to go for Poison Fang, and thankfully I was able to knock Nidoqueen out at the same time it knocked me out with 2 counters. So, good game. Very well played to my opponent. On to the next game. Right, Pidgeot versus Dewgong. Terrible matchup. We're going to swap into a Alolan Marowak right away, as it is my softer counter. And then they bring in Grimer. So, definitely going to go for Bone Clubs here, because I just got to try to get as many charges off as I can. I am going to shield the Crunch up here, for sure. Like, I'm at least bring it to the 1-1 shields. I go for Bone Club, obviously, and it's just going to be straight Bone Clubs here. So let's find out if I win this mid-game match or not. Alright, so they're going for a second Crunch. Because I couldn't get a second Bone Club off, I am going to shield again. So now I'm down 2-1, or 0-1 shield, excuse me. I go for Bone Club. I do have back-to-back. Alrighty, and they let it go through so I can Fire Spin down. So, I did win Switch, which is great because I need to align the Machamp onto Dewgong. And they bring in their own Alolan Marowak, so I'm going straight for the Shadow Bone. And then I'm going to go for the Bone Club here, because at this point it's like I just got to, make them throw their energy if they want to. And then I managed to actually catch their Bone Club onto my Pidgeot, which is fantastic, because I do need them to burn some energy. I think they had 1 or 2 Ice Shards. This is definitely the 5 Ice Shards, so enough for an icy win. Obviously, I can't shield. I got no shields left, so I'm going to let it go through. My goal is to debuff it, because the Alolan Marowak's low, so like that's the goal, to debuff. I don't need to go for a Braver necessarily. I was hoping they could shield, so I'm like, oh, brother. And I'm going to let them farm me down, obviously, because I can't swap. I do bring in my Marowak again to force him to throw energy. I think they go for Icy Wind here. Yep, makes sense. They know they got to farm up in order to have a chance. I do swap out since they're relatively low in energy. I managed to take out their Dewgong, and of course they surrender the match because all they had left is a low HP Marowak. So good game. Very well played in my opponent. On to the final battle of the set. Right, hopping into this final match, we got Pidgeot versus Shadow Dragonair. So the Dragon Breaths are going to be tearing me apart here. I am choosing to stay in. I don't shield this Aqua Tail, as Aqua Tail even with Shadow doesn't do too much damage. I do get this Feather Dance off, so I'm like, surely they're gonna shield. It's a Shadow Dragonair. And then I just let the Pidgeot go down. I am gonna come in, I believe, with Machamp. And, I mean, there's a case to be made that I should shield, but I believe I choose not to because it's an Aqua Tail, and I'm like, I can survive this for sure, but that still does quite a bit of damage, all things considered, even for a debuff. Then they bring in a Wigglytuff, and I'm like, oh, crap. But then they swap into their Ninetales. Honestly, I think they should have stayed in with Wigglytuff. Reason being is, again, while it is technically a losing matchup for Wigglytuff in even shield situations, Wigglytuff can still put in the hurt with Charms. I mean, Charms is just that the damage on Charm is just that oppressive, even against something like a Alolan Marowak, which will resist the Charm thanks to its fire typing. So I do go for Shadow Bone, I think, the first time, then it was a Bone Club the second time. They know their win con is Wigglytuff. Totally makes sense why they never shielded their Ninetales here. And I'm just going straight for Bone Club. We just got to either stall the clock, which probably isn't going to happen to do it for the full clock. They sneak in a Charm, which is not the greatest. And of course, like, shields are useless on Machamp. I decide to swap in, which is like, I gotta try something here. Thankfully, counters are neutral, and we knock each other out. Simultaneous KO. So, good game. Very well played to my opponent. That was a 4-1 set. I, for some reason, did not make sure the other set I did was recorded, so I don't have the footage for that. I did go on a 9-1 run with this team with the 5-win and then the 4-win streak, as you saw there. So, again, for the Kanto Cup purposes, this team is pretty meta in my opinion. Marowak, you can run it any way you want. Zionic definitely prefers... I know it's Shadow Bone Fire Blast, or he really loves the charge move set right there. I believe the fast move he chooses is Hex. I could be wrong. Honestly, it's up to your playstyle. I know when you use Fire Blast, Hex is preferred because it's a better energy gaining move than Fire Spin. But Fire Spin allows you to handle normal type Pokemon a lot better. Whereas Hex, if you don't land that Fire Blast, you're pretty much dead in the water with a lone Marowak. So, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.